I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the August 15th, 2013 meeting for the Dixon County Commissioners regular meeting. And if you'll please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I will mention that Commissioner Myers is out of town on other business today, so it'll just be Commissioner Chamberlain and myself. The next item we have here is the approval of the agenda, and there are three things that we are going to add to the agenda. The first being the consideration for the approval of a purchase of mass notification service with Nixle. The second item that we're going to add is consider approving removal and rebate of 3 years of sewer fees for a Talmadge property. And then the next item is review and consider two resolutions correcting errors found on previous resolutions vacating portions of county roads. And so with those additions, I would go ahead and make a motion that we approve this amended agenda.
Second.
We have the motion that I've made and the second from Commissioner Chamberlain. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item we have is that of the consent agenda, and it includes the minutes of the August 8th work session, a regular meeting. We have payroll of $334,654.81. We also have wire payments of $2,973.82. And I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have the motion for approval and the second from Commissioner Chamberlain. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time we'll go to Commissioner comments and committee reports. And Craig, if you have anything there.
I will be attending the deal down Harrington for the railroad, the 21st, Barb. I'm not sure if Vern is going or not. We need to.
I think Lauren was planning on going.
And then you might want to get in the paper. The 26th, we will be going to Morris County for the commissioners' meeting with the surrounding townships.
26 or 28?
28. No, I had 20. Okay, 28. I had 26.
I think it's 28.
Yep. Okay. See, I had it wrong.
Yes, it's
28.
Wednesday night to 28.
Oh, okay. See, I wrote it down wrong to begin with.
And what that meeting amounts to, we initiated one of the very first meeting, or the first meeting for this, where we invited surrounding county commissioners to come here and just kind of talk about what some of the issues are, some of the things that we're doing, and we had a representative, the chairman of the KAC, Randall Allen here. And anyway, and it was a real helpful meeting. And one of the things that was kind of interesting at that is Saline County had their situation come up with their juvenile detention and how they're handling people. That had not come up yet, but we talked about what we were doing, Laverne especially, and had shown a video of what we were doing in Gary County, the cooperative type thing of counties. And here about the next week, that was on the doorstep of the Saline County Commission, and I think that information was extremely helpful to them. But Morris County will be the host of that next meeting. The other thing I was going to mention, and I think I'm probably the only one attending, but they'll have the MAC breakfast this next week, and so if you'll get the reservation in for that, that'll be Thursday for Military Affairs Council in Gary County, in Junction City. Any other reports?
Nothing on the computer from constituents.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move to the next item. Are there any public comments or presentation of petitions? Otherwise, moving on, we'll go to reports of the county officer. So County Administrator Brad Holman, if you'll go ahead and give us your report at this time.
We applied for and received approval from K-Camp on their $2,000 risk reduction grant that is available available to each one of the member counties every year. This year, we have submitted an application to pay for a couple of additional security cameras in the courthouse and the software for those cameras. So we, K-Camp was gracious enough to approve that, so we'll be submitting that order and getting that done so we can get paid for that. The Sheriff's Department has arranged an extradition from Mercer, Pennsylvania for, on an inmate to bring them back to Dickinson County, and the amount of that extradition through the private vendor is $1,354 that will be taken from the diversion fund. We have had for a number of years a system called Total Notify that is the slang term for that is reverse 911 that's utilized by our emergency communications center and emergency management department. And that system has notified us some time ago that as of September 1, they would no longer be available to us. So over the past months, we've done some research and been a party to a number of demonstrations by various vendors to provide that type of a service. And through that time period, we have come up with a vendor called Nixle, N-I-X-L-E, that provides a service similar to the reverse 911, although it is a lot more advanced than simply that. But essentially what it would do is allows us to make a mass notification to the whole county or to a geographical area that we would draw on a computer for whatever purpose, whether it's a road closing, something as non-emergent and simple as a road closing, or if it was an evacuation of an area that we needed to do, we could draw that area or polygon on the computer and make a notification to everyone within that area with a landline telephone or with a registered cell phone. That service, there's a lot of other benefits to this service as well, and I won't go into the details, but that service would run $8,400 per year with an additional $2,700 the first time for uploading and setting up the 911 database into the system for a total of $11,100. And that's one of the items on your action that's been added today to consider that. It's our recommendation that we go with Nixle and get them online so that we can utilize that service with those that expense coming from our 911 funds, what I call our old 911 funds that we set aside prior to the new law taking into effect. The new law, the current 911 funds would not cover it, but the old ones prior to last year when the law changed, we've kept in separate funds for that purpose, and they are statutorily allowed to be used for that. So when we get to that, we can deal with that. Let's see. Lost my sheet. The next item I had was we had myself, County Engineer John Goff, and Martin Tannehill met with Grant Township's board last Friday morning regarding the letter that they had sent to you requesting some signage be placed on West First Street between Van Buren and Fair Road. And in a nutshell, basically their concern is the weight of vehicles on that road, the damage that's incurred, and their fear of not being able to maintain it in adequate standard in the future years. At the conclusion of the meeting, we came up with a potential solution that they're going to attempt on their own first before we get involved and put any additional regulation out there, and I think they were happy with the ideas that we gave them, and they'll get back to us if we need to help them with anything else at this point. So at this point, their request has been fulfilled, and we'll wait and see if they come back with any additional requests for help. So I've also sent a message to Noble Township to see what date would work good for them in September to meet with them on the bridge out on Quail Road. Requested of them if it would be okay for them to come in and meet during a work session with the commission. And Kent Mills also asked if it was okay to contact the farmers out there, see if they were willing to come in, and I said I thought that would probably be a good idea since they're kind of the
Right.
stakeholders.
I didn't know if we'd be far enough along at this time, you know,
Yeah.
to know, I mean, but, yeah.
We might be quickly during the meeting, it just
Yeah,
won't tell.
right, because we gotta decide, you know, because there's gonna be a lot of questions answered, in my opinion.
That
But we'll have to
probably make an
research.
answer.
Yeah, we'll have to research. And for Lynn's note, I asked Brad if we'd get some pictures of the, you know, of the site and stuff, and got a little history of the bridge, and you know, just so we have that available when we did it too.
I think that's a good idea.
So we'll report back when we get a
Okay.
date set on that, so. I provided you copies by email and then a color copy today of the budget sheet information that Janelle has compiled. And during the work session, you gave me some suggested amendments to that, and I'll get with her on that. I think they're good suggestions. And also a copy of the resolution that will be required next week for the, if we increase the mill levy, so. We did receive a letter this week from the Abilene Smoky Valley Railroad, of which they've officially declined the grant from KDOT for the historical preservation funding that we applied for and received on their behalf. And it's their position that they believe that they can utilize local funds and local talent to get that project done at a cost that's below what their match would be and get it done in a much more timely fashion. So we will contact KDOT and let KDOT know that we want to be utilizing those funds and they can put them back into the system. We did have an accident that our personnel responded to Sunday evening, I believe about 10:40 p.m. on I-70 at the Mink Road exit. That resulted in the traffic on I-70 being detoured up Mink Road and around to K-15, the westbound traffic. The result of that, about 20 hours worth of detour, was an extremely high amount of damage to Mink Road and also some to Jeep Road due to the heavy traffic and the weight of the traffic that our roads are not designed. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of loaded semis and, of course, passenger cars. Monday during the day, we had, I think, about 13 to 15 locations on Mink Road where we had blowouts where the pavement just basically disintegrated. And as soon as they opened I-70 back up, Martin had his crews up there Tuesday and Wednesday patching those locations because our contractor with our paving, that was the next road they were planning on going to, number one. Number two, they were dangerous. So we will attempt, once we get all that tallied up, it's going to be our intent to file a claim with the insurance company, the individual who caused that accident. It's not necessarily our responsibility to handle that type of traffic.
Well,
My understanding, KDOT's also going to file a claim against them for the repairs and stuff on I-70 and the damages that they had, so.
we'll be able to, I mean, I'm sure the manpower that we took to flag the road and stuff like that.
I think so, I think
Okay.
all of it, anything that was that incident caused a cost for, yes.
I should have brought it in the work site, don't make a difference. Did have a couple people that were on the road going, you know, after, didn't know about the accident, but there wasn't any good visibility for the county people that were out there. There was no signs, you know, flagman ahead or anything like that on Mink Road and 18 and stuff.
During
So-
the emergency part of it, you
Right,
mean, or-
yeah. Yeah, but then, you know, they, you know, come down the road and here's, you know, a county guy standing out there with a stop, you know, a sign. There was no sign up there that said, you know, road, you know, flagman ahead.
During the detour.
Yeah,
portion.
right.
Yeah, and that was the very last minute.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, Martin and I actually talked Monday when he came in and said we had these portions of road blown out, and it was going to be shortly after lunch, maybe 2 o'clock. I suggested to him to send some guys out, and the purpose, KDOT had flaggers at K-18 and K-15.
Right. Well, this was like
Oh,
7:30
Okay.
when, you know, they were out there. Then when they were going to work in Abilene and stuff, and there was a county guy. I make the assumption it was a county person
Yeah.
that was there with a, you know, sign, you know.
I think the only place that we had a county person at was at Jeep Road and K-18.
Well,
To
they
keep
might have
them
been.
going down K-18 to
Okay,
K-15.
well, they might have been mistaken on where they thought. She said,
Because KDOT had flaggers at the other two and stopping traffic on 18 and letting the detour
Mink Road?
traffic have priority.
Yeah.
Because it was just.
well, it might have been.
bumper to
It might have
bumper.
been the state person that didn't
Yeah.
have a flagger. You know, if you can say, flagman ahead, be prepared to stop.
Yeah.
Might have been the state then, and assume.
I would guess it probably was,
Okay.
because I know they had most of their resources were down on I-70
right.
trying to repair the guardrail and get it back
Okay,
open.
okay.
And
Because
they
I'm
sent a
sure-
couple flaggers up there because they knew they were gonna have an accident if they didn't,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I'm sure that it was probably the state people that were up there that,
Our priority was to keep that
Keep on.
non-local traffic
Yeah.
on the state highway.
Yeah.
Because what we noticed was as soon as one truck would turn to go down Jeep,
somebody else was
it was
following.
like monkey see, monkey do. Then you'd have 40 of them turn and could see it, thinking
Yeah.
they knew where they were going.
Yeah.
So, and we had a number of blowouts on Jeep Road as well.
Yeah, and for Lynn's information, I didn't know about the accident. I called Brad about 1:30. I said, hey Brad, I meant to call you earlier this morning. I said I was going to town on Saturday morning and it was dark, and I said I didn't, saw a spot, Jeep Road that there was a blowout, and he says,
It's worse now.
it's worse now.
Yeah. So, but and both of those roads are scheduled.
Yeah, yeah.
Schilling will be overlaying them here
Yeah.
in the next week or two. But I think we've kind of deviated from our original schedule. And Martin had asked them to go up and do 3,400 and Fair next to give us enough time to get these patched up, because if we don't get those holes patched underneath, they obviously can't overlay it. So,
Yeah.
so but anyhow, that happened. There's not much we can do about it, but we do have some expense incurred, and we're going to try to send a bill to that insurance company that caused the expense. So, the fish passage grants, I did confirm with the contact with U.S. Fish and Wildlife that we do need to wait just a little bit longer until the final approval is made for those grants before we confirm our bids and order our steel for those bridges. He anticipated it should be within the next 2 weeks or so. We'll get the final stamp on that. I wanted to mention that Diane did get a report today on our 2014 workers' compensation premium modification rating. Will be at 0.88, and that has lowered from 0.89 this current year. And with the modification ratings, anything that lowers is always good. In 2011, we had a rather high rating, which basically determines your workers' comp premium. We were up at 1.38 due to some incidents that we had. So it's very good news that we've lowered a little bit more down to 0.88. And I'd like to see it even lower, although I don't know it's going to get much lower. I mean, that's getting down about the bottom of where you can realistically go. So that's good news and shows that our county employees are doing what they can to minimize risk and eliminate accidents and claims. So the last thing I had was that in Russell on September 12th, there is a meeting for county commissioners regarding them being a Board of Health and the accreditation that's coming up for health departments. And if you guys are available, John Holgren would attend that and go with you if...
What time is it
I
now?
think it starts about 4 in the afternoon.
Okay, I
It
was
goes
gonna
till
say,
7 or 8.
it's on our Thursday meeting day.
They provide you dinner while you're there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably be attending.
Okay. I'll check my schedule.
What I'll probably do is go ahead and RSVP all three of you, and then if we pull one out, that'll be easier to do. That way we get seats there.
Okay.
Also regarding meetings, I talked to John Goff. We got the notice of that governor's meeting
September
on September 5th. John immediately RSVP'd for that and got notice back this week that the meeting is full, and they will put him on a waiting list. He mentioned he might crash the meeting anyhow because he knows how those go and just so he could attend. But
It'll be a public meeting anyway.
Well, yeah. So at this point, I don't know what they meant by full, but
Yeah.
it's going to be a popular meeting. So we'll discuss the governor's transportation plan. So, but that's all I've got. Unless you have any questions with that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. Next time we have is notice and communications. We have received a few things in the mail, so I'll just go over those. We were copied in on a letter from the Kansas Historical Society, and it's in regards to the Gustav Kubach house. That's on 101 South Buckeye Avenue. And it was sent to Joe and Anita Miller. And so it's just to inform us that the Kansas Historic Sites Board of Review has approved the nomination of this house for the National Register of Historic Places. And so that information is going to be forwarded. And so it's kind of a note of congratulations to them. There's a few things that I've received as well as the other commissioners on some meetings that are going to be taking place over at Fort Riley, change of command or retirements. Craig had mentioned this earlier, but we did receive invitations to go to the passenger fleet. Union Pacific Railroad is the host, and that's going to be, we'll be going down to Harrington for that on the 21st. And it's a morning event. I guess we're supposed to be there about 7:30.
7:15.
7:15. And now who's all going to that? We think Laverne probably
Laverne
is.
said that he would,
Yeah.
as long as he could get back, and I checked with them, they thought they'd be done by 9 o'clock. He has his juvenile detention meeting that morning, so from there he'll go on to
Okay.
Junction City, so.
Yeah. And, so I don't know if it's practical for us to carpool in this instance. You'll probably have
I'll show
a
them home.
straighter shot from
Yeah.
home, and so. But anyway, we do have that coming up. The other thing was just a notice from the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation, and it's just a notice of some hearings that the state of Kansas will conduct. And this has to do with your housing and community development issues. And so it's a consolidation plan, and that's something that that will be available. It's at Great Bend on August 20th and August 22nd at Topeka. And I don't know that I would be attending, but sometimes they have those meetings where it just doesn't work out for us to attend, but we'll certainly be in the loop as far as what's discussed and find out later. And then also I had a letter from Randall Allen, Executive Director of the Kansas Association of Counties, and it's basically to kind of go over some of the benefits of the County Employee Benefit Trust Fund. And so I think we all have copies of that. I don't know that there's anything else. I'm just kind of glancing through some of Laverne's items just because he's not here. But I think pretty much, Craig, you and I were copied in on about everything that he received. So is there anything else that I may have overlooked? Otherwise, that covers it, and we'll go on to our introduction and consideration of resolutions. And we do have, this is kind of a housekeeping deal, and this isn't necessarily in order, but since I brought this up first, we have a resolution correcting errors found on vacating portions of county roads. And do you have any additional comments on that, Brad, or is that
Well,
pretty
this-
well self-explanatory?
These came about after we filed some previous resolutions where we vacated a couple of roads, and we found some that had not been filed, and when we checked with them, when we filed, Barb went to file, and we were told that there were a couple typos in the legal description, so what we've done, one is from 2002, I believe, and one's from 2008. I do have a few more from even prior to that, again, one of those things that our computer systems nowadays find, that makes the inaccuracy surface, which is a good thing. So, but they're both just, one has to do with the township and range is incorrect, although the rest of the description is right, and the other one just adds the township and range in. So, just typos.
Okay.
Neither one of them changes the scope of the original resolution by any means. It just makes it legal so it can be filed properly.
Okay. I'll go ahead and bring up this first one then, and this is the vacation of a portion of 1600 Avenue between Vane Road and Wolf Road in Dixon County. And so I would go ahead and move that we adopt the resolution 081513.
Second.
You have the motion and the second from Commissioner Chamberlain to adopt resolution 081513. And this is the 1600 Avenue portion between Vane Road and Wolf Road. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next one is kind of the companion one to this. This is resolution 081513A, and this is to correct a previous portion on the roadway. This is in the Fragrant Hill Township and has the description of intersection of 3300 Avenue and Paint Road. And so this would go ahead and, once again, this is a housekeeping item. I would go ahead and move that we adopt Resolution 081513A.
Second.
We have the motion and the second from Commissioner Chamberlain that we adopt Resolution 081513A. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And there's two places for you to sign there, Craig. Okay, the next item, and once again, Brad had brought this up in his report, is the approval to purchase the mass notification services from Nixle. And this involves the reverse of the 911. And what was the amount on that? Is that?
The annual lease amount is $8,400. The one-time cost for uploading our 911 database would be $2,700 for a total first-time amount for the first year of $11,100.
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Chamberlain, and I have the second for the purchase of a mass notification service from Nixle. This is reverse 911. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item we have, and this is kind of a housekeeping type thing too, but we've received notice that there were sewer fees being applied to a property up in Talmadge, and there had been a fire at the house, and so there's no longer a house there, and so they are requesting, this is from Jay and Jackie Oren, and they're requesting repayment of fees for sewer of 3 years, and this total amount, and 3 years is the amount of time they're able to go back on, and so we're pleased to get this corrected. The total amount is $137.52, and so we would need a motion to.
I move we refund the amount of $137.32 to Jay and Jackie Oran.
Okay. And I'll second that. So we have the motion from Commissioner Chamberlain that we refund or give a repayment of the fees for sewer of 3 years. It's $45.84 per year times 3, so that totals $137.52. Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. The only item under, I think that's all for any of the new business. And we have unfinished business. This is review and consider bids for bridge materials for fish passage projects.
And I would just request that you leave that on the table, and once we obtain that information, we'll bring it back here in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so we'll table that again. So we don't really need any action, but we're just waiting for more information. Under other business, it's just coming up on some of the future agendas. August 29th, after the regular meeting, the county commission and Brad, and will there be anyone else?
I don't know that there will be, possibly Janelle if she's available.
Okay, and of course this is open, to anyone interested that would want to go along with, but we will be doing a short visit and a tour of the Heritage Center, and they'll be led by Jeff Sheets. And then we're still looking at a time to meet with the Noble Township regarding the Quail Road Bridge, and that will be sometime in September. And I think that's all we have for right now, other than when Laverne returns, we'll be having the approval of our budget coming up. So that's been published. Anything else that you would have?
No, thanks. I move we adjourn.
Have a motion for adjournment, and I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned.